Hello YouTube, I'm the Foam Witch, and in this video I'm going to be conjuring up a Shaun of the Dead cricket bat replica. This was made for my good friend Ben, the attention-seeking geek, who was meeting Simon Pegg at Comic-Con. So without further ado, let's do this. To help me get the right dimensions, I looked through this pile of scrap wood that was in my workshop just to try and find a piece that was a similar shape and size to an actual cricket bat. Once I found a piece I was happy with, it was time for the foam. I just traced around this piece of wood to give the main base for the cricket bat. I also added an extra length at the top that I would make into the handle. Then this was cut out. This was cut out of 10mm foam, and I did cut this piece out twice because I was going to stick them onto each other to give the thickness for the bat. A channel piece then got cut out of each of the sections of foam. This was because I was going to add a metal pole to the inside to make sure this thing stayed sturdy. For this, I just used the metal handle of a cheap broom. This got stuck inside the foam using hot glue, and then both pieces of the foam were stuck together. I then cut away some of the foam at the top to give the shape for the handle, and I trimmed away some of the edges of the foam to start shaping this to look like a cricket bat. However, at this point I did think I'd completely ruined it. However, I persevered and I took my Dremel with sanding barrel attachment and also mouse sander and sanded this foam until it was the shape that I was happy with. This did take a while, but it was a good step to do because eventually it took the shape of a cricket bat, so I was happy. It did, however, look a little bit messy, so in order to hide this, I took a piece of 1mm thick foam and stuck it over the top, which hid everything perfectly. This foam then got trimmed down, and after even more sanding, the bat had finally taken shape. In the epic film Shaun of the Dead, the bat that's used does have some notches in the wood where it's obviously been used, so to add these I took my Dremel and I added them in using a polishing stone. And this is how it looked once I'd added that detail. The bat from the film has tape around the handle, so I just added this using some electrical tape that I had in my workshop. Once the tape had been added, it was then time to start painting. First, I sealed the foam using 3 layers of black flexi paint from the absolutely incredible Pegg supplies. If you've not checked out Pegg already, make sure you go and check out their website for all your cosplay needs. And once that was dry, it was time to start adding the colour. To start, I used a base of light wood brown. If you ask me, this looked a bit more beige, but it was great for a base, so that was fine. I then built up the colour into a wood effect by taking various different browns and just adding them on randomly with a really old brush. This method was all trial and error. I just kept adding paint until I was happy with it, and then I wouldn't be happy with it, so I'd go back and add more paint, and then I'd be even more unhappy with it, but eventually I managed to make it look like wood, so it all turned out in the end. To add the lettering that this bat had, I printed off a picture from the actual bat. On the paper, I traced it with pencil, so when I traced it back onto the bat, it left an imprint. That doesn't make sense, but I'm sure you know what I mean. This then got painted on with a tiny brush, and once that was finished, the painting of the bat was complete. I then wanted to protect the paintwork, so I just coated it with a few coats of this Plasticoat spray sealer. Once that was completely dry, the bat was finished, and it was time to go to Comic-Con. Here's my good friend Ben, the attention-seeking geek, with the bat, obviously dressed as Shaun from the movie. And here is the photo of him meeting Simon Pegg with the bat. I love this photo, I know how much it meant to him, so to make the bat was an honour. And that, my friends, is how I made a replica bat from the movie Shaun of the Dead. This was such a fun project, and the reasons behind making it made it even better, so I loved making this. I want to give a huge thank you to anyone who has watched this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like, and please think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already. So now I'm going to take the car, go to Mum's, kill Phil, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint and wait for all this to blow over. So I'll see you next time.